Welcome to another episode of the Protein Bros podcast. I am your host, Jeff Wasserman, and with me always,
Kyle Combs.
Mr. Kyle Combs. Now, thank you guys for coming back to us for another episode. Tonight, I think you're going to be really excited about who we have with us, Mr. Justin Williams.
What's going on, guys? Pleasure to be here.
Justin is well known and well documented in the Kansas City community. He is a newly appointed IFBB pro physique competitor, as well as one of the most successful diet coaches you could possibly hire here. So he's got a lot to tell us, and we got a lot of questions for him. Let's get it going.
I'm excited. Appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, man. We honestly, when it came to us starting a podcast, you were one of the first people that came to us, and the reason for that specifically, do you remember how we met?
Yeah, we met was it Muscle Mayhem? Is that what it was?
Yeah, you won that show. So
casual. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, casual. When we first started opening supplement superstores, before we ever opened, we actually sponsored a bodybuilding show, and we were here for a weekend before we even had our store open, and we went to Topgolf in between the morning and night show. And when we were at Topgolf, we happened to meet a guy. He was our server, and he looked at us. He looked at me, not Jeff, and was like, "You guys must be like bodybuilders or something.
You like to lift weights?
You guys look jacked." And we were like, "Yeah, we own a supplement store. We're about to open here, yada yada yada." And the dude was like, "Hey, my brother is actually a bodybuilder." And
you might know him. Let me just show you on Instagram.
No, but
for context, guys, like we get that all the time. People are always like, "Oh man, my cousin's brother's uncle's dog walker used to be a pro bodybuilder. You might know him."
Yeah, he benches 500 and
yeah, dude used to train with Arnold. And so we're like, "Yeah, dude, we don't probably know your brother. We don't know your brother. He's probably not that big a deal." And then he pulls out his phone and pulls out his Instagram to like Justin's last show he won, and we were like, "Oh."
We're like, "Oh, your brother's a really good bodybuilder. Cool."
Yeah. Oh, we should probably know him actually. Yeah.
And then the next day, I remember we met you at the show because you stopped by our booth or something, and I remember the photo, and I was like, "Hey, dude, your brother actually helped us at Topgolf last night, and he told us you were going to be competing in this," and that's the first time we met you.
I find it so funny just because like I've never had a situation where my brother is like the inductee to where he's like, "We know your brother." I feel like it's kind of the other way around, but yeah. So you guys like, "Yeah, we met your brother last night." I was like,
full circle. Next weekend, we're going to the lake with your brother.
We are.
I'm going to party with your brother.
It's almost, if you think about
it. You tell that story again.
That's exciting.
Does he remember that story?
I don't think he knows, man.
Yeah.
I don't think so. But if you think about it, it's almost the anniversary because wasn't Muscle Mayhem around that time?
Yeah, it's June. Yeah,
so,
every year.
That's wild. It's been, is it 5 years, 6 years?
So it'll be exactly 5 years. Yeah, it'll be exactly 5 years.
When we first started doing that, I remember we would ask Chris and Andy, "Hey, we want to go sponsor a bodybuilding show in Kansas City." And I mean, we still were not going to open a store for what?
6 months.
6 months.
Yeah. Like, I mean,
so
I guess
people would come up at the bodybuilding show. They'd be like, "Oh yeah, where's your store?" We're like, "Oh, we don't have it yet." So
it's coming.
Just keep it bookmark it. We'll be back. I promise.
We did 3 or 4 bodybuilding shows like that. And yeah, lo and behold, it worked out.
I think so. It's working out pretty well for you guys.
On the note for you, this is something that I think a lot of people need to discern. To our listeners, you've been a personal trainer, at a gym. You've also, been a diet coach as well as a prep coach. Could you explain to us what the differences between those careers are?
Yeah, absolutely. So a personal trainer is going to be someone who's going to be more hands-on, quite literally. They're going to be in-person training you, whether it's a commercial gym, a private gym. I guess these days and age, people are even doing remote calls where they're doing like Skypes or Zooms, but that's going to be more hands-on. I'm on a different aspect where I do focusing more on the nutrition side as well as the training side, but everything is remote-based.
Gotcha. Okay.
When did you start lifting? Like, what got you into wanting to be a personal trainer originally?
Yeah, so I originally started lifting, back in like high school when the electives, right? The electives of like weights. And for me, I grew up always playing sports, but I was never considered athletic, right? I was always kind of a bench warmer, always someone playing recreational, not so much varsity. And so I got into lifting and I just kind of fell in love with it. It was kind of a mix between, I wanted to push myself to do something that I thought I could actually get good at versus, and as well as, I was a smaller guy for sure. When I started, I was soaking wet, 133 pounds.
So you're telling us that you've never. I'm thinking like you have the biggest biceps anybody's ever seen.
No, it's his triceps.
It's his
triceps are.
His arms are unheard of, guys. If you haven't seen Justin, anyways, but it's one of those things.
Tricep envy is what I got going on.
Yeah. So I know I don't want to say it's genetically blessed or anything like that, but it's like so you actually were like a noodle-armed guy at one point.
Oh, I was completely a noodle-armed guy. I mean, the pictures that I have when I first started, 133 on a good day, 5'10", 5'11", so I wasn't overly short. I'm 6'1" now. Shout out to puberty. But yeah,
some of us are still 5'10". Watch it, dude.
Yeah, sorry, man. Don't want to hurt feelings.
He's working on going through puberty.
Yeah, it might still happen for you, man. I actually was a small guy. I mean, I was also a quiet guy, and that's one thing I wanted to do because I was what you'd consider a fly on the wall. Anytime I hung out with people, I would just kind of be there. So I was associated myself. Let's hang out with the cool people, but I was never a cool person. And so for me, I always wanted to hang out with the jocks, but I was never a jock. I always played, but I was a bench warmer, or I played recreational, but never for the school. And so I thought maybe if I work out, I could start looking like them. They'll kind of show me respect. Honestly, went the opposite way. They kind of started associating me as kind of a meathead. But I stuck with it, man. And, throughout college, stuck with it even more, started competing, which we can talk about in a little bit.
Yeah, what age did you actually start? What was your first competition?
So 2012 was the first time I stepped on stage. 2012 in Kansas City, like around this time in 2012. So
what would that make you old-wise?
I just turned 21 actually, because I remember the show was 3 days after my 21st, and my parents were like, "Can you do a shot?
Can you drink any alcohol?" And you're like, "No, you don't get it, guys."
I was like, "No." Yeah, I actually remember the night before my show, they're like, "Well, let's grab some Mexican." I was like, I can't.
Yeah,
dude, isn't it funny when the first time you start like dieting for a bodybuilding show and you have people in your inner circle that are like, "No, but like we'll go out to eat and you can get something." I'm like,
"You're allowed to have some kind of a cheat, right?"
I'm not going to eat anything. I'm only going to eat what I'm
actually going to bring my food with me.
Obviously, macros has become more popular now, but back in 2012, I'm guessing you ate off a meal plan and it was the exact same thing every day.
It was tough, yeah. I mean, even to this day, my mom's like, "It's just a salad. It's just this. It's just that." I'm like, how do you, come on?
You're like, "Mom, I don't know if you know this, but it's actually like my entire profession to know that it's not just a salad."
Here's a question. What do your parents think now that you're an IFBB pro? Does that like sink in that you are like the top of the top when it comes to food chain and what you do?
My mom, I'm a mama's boy. If anyone doesn't know, I'm definitely a mama's boy. And in regarding to what they think, it's definitely evolved over the years, but I think this applies to anyone in any kind of profession. Like before you become successful or before you kind of prove your worth to anything, there's always going to be people doubting you. And it tends to be the people who are closest to you, because I feel like they have this guard of, they care about you more than anyone. So they don't want to see you get hurt. So they're telling you, which actually can be detrimental to progressing and like working hard, is you're good with where you're at. You don't need to change. You don't need to do this. You don't need to do that. And so, I think you have some friction when you're with people close to you on like, this is what I want to do. And they're like, especially when it's foreign, especially when it's bodybuilding. I still remember that first show at Muscle Mayhem, going to it with my family and getting that spray tan for the first time.
They're like, "Dude, what are you doing?"
And still, honestly, to this day, I didn't pay for the stage tan. I paid for some other person to do it for me. And I still, to this day, have never been that dark. I looked like like that YouTube video was that chocolate rain. I don't know. Oh God. I felt like that's how I felt. And so it was just, it was just a whole new world to them. And so they had no idea what to expect. I guess differently than maybe some circumstances, I had a really good start. My first show I competed and I won the overall. So I had no idea what that meant. My family had no idea what that meant.
You're like, "Is that good?" They're like, "You get this big trophy."
Now you've competed in bodybuilding as well as like classic physique. Was this in physique that you won the overall in, or?
Yeah, this was men's physique. So in 2012 was the first show I did, and that was when I won my class, and then I won the overall. And right after getting off stage, I was like, like I said from my past, like I'm an athletic person, but not like a successfully athletic person. So me winning is not in my DNA. Like,
right, that was your first big win.
That was my first win, and especially for something that's so personalized, one-on-one, not team effort so much. It was really confusing because people are like, "Are you going to nationals? What are you doing?" I'm like, "I don't know."
Like, dude,
what is nationals?
I haven't even gotten that far, man. I just wanted to come up here and compete one day.
So when that happened, did that kind of ignite a fire in you, or did it make you go, "Is this a fluke?" Because I know that I've won things in the past and been like,
"Am I an imposter?
Am I an imposter? Was this an accident? Who did I compete against? Like, What do you think, which way did it make you feel?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think, again, when you ask that question, I think about that both in business, but also both in competing in the sense of, I didn't know what to expect. I was like, okay, I mean, that was really awesome. That was just, I was riding a really big high, if you will. The high that I was riding, I was like, wow, this is incredible. It feels so good to win. It feels so good to kind of accomplish something. And that's the biggest takeaway with any kind of competing. It's almost not so much the moment, but all the little moments that lead up to it that has the most like significant impact to you. But yeah, when I competed and I won, I was like, well, people are saying nationals, so let me type in nationals on Google, see what that means. And I kept on going from that point, and I did well at nationals. I didn't do amazing, but I did pretty well. Placed third, and it was just one of those things where I was like, I guess I'm decent at this. But given at the time, I mean, I'd worked out for about 7 years at that point. So for me, or about 5 years. So for me, it was like I wasn't new to competing. I wasn't new to working out. I was new to competing. So I just knew that it was a passion of mine. So I was going to keep working out. So I just wanted to keep pushing myself. And yeah, I would definitely say it pushed me into competing, because anyone who's competed kind of knows it. It's an addicting process, and that's why people who do it struggle to take long off seasons, because they're like, I just want to keep doing it.
Yeah. The
something to chase always, you know what I mean? And I think that post show, there's a depression that goes with that at times for people. And have you had to experience any of that yourself, or you just kind of felt lost after a show where you just don't have this thing you're chasing anymore?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's something that's very not talked about that much in the fitness community, is the post show blues, as we word it. And with that, it's something that's tough, man, because you see yourself in this light of where you look your absolute best. You've worked your ass off for months on end for just this one day, and then it kind of comes and goes. And whether you win or whether you don't place or whatever the result is, it's kind of like, you've been tunnel vision, because you have to be. It's a selfish sport. And, at that point, you're kind of, all right, what now? And you have to have that conversation with yourself. But then it's also tough because, you enjoy yourself some food, your tan starts to fade. You kind of see yourself fading away from your best version of yourself, quote unquote, physically. And so it does take a lot of pivoting to decide kind of, okay, how do I scale back my focus, and how do I continue to work towards something maybe on a, that's not something that's different. And so, yeah, the post-show blues is tough to get out of. And I think the biggest thing is to kind of always go into it with a game plan, kind of with anything with life. Anytime a phase ends, you always have to kind of know what's next for you.
So how many times have you competed at nationals, and what is the, you talked about, having a hard time with, rebounding in the past at some points. You've obviously been very successful in bodybuilding, but, when was the time where you had the worst finish and you felt like, man, this sucks, and it was hard for you to basically flip it back on? What did you learn from that experience?
Can I guess what it would be?
I think but go ahead.
Chicago?
Chicago.
Yeah, I was about to say that too.
Go ahead, sorry.
No, you're right.
I had to prove my friendship there for a second.
You did.
I know him.
Well, to be honest, I'll give Jeff credit. Jeff was the one who helped me out a lot and kind of getting my mindset back in the right place. And pretty much he said, because the long story short of this is, in 2018 was the first time getting back on stage after going through a health scare, which I'm sure we'll probably talk about here soon. But that was the first time. So there was kind of like this self-redemption, self-defining moment of, do I still have it? Because it had been the longest I hadn't competed. It had been about 2.5 years. And so I did a show in St. Louis to qualify, because in order to compete at the national level, you have to place within the top two of a regional show. So I did a show in St. Louis that I actually had won a couple years back in 2013. I won an overall there. And so, I had that pressure of, okay, I'm doing it again. I want to win the overall again. And I just want to prove it to myself. Like, if I'm going to do a national show, I need to win this show. Well, I ended up getting second. And that was as weird as it sounds, or I don't know how to word it. That was the first time I didn't win a show in probably 10 shows. And, I have had really good success, but, when you get second, you start questioning yourself. And on top of that, I was also going through some pretty low testosterone and just kind of what I would say mild to moderate depression, in the sense of I was second guessing everything. I didn't know if I wanted to push through, because that show was in the March, and then nationals was in June. So there was a good stretch of like 9 to 10 weeks where you had to keep going. And if you've competed before, after that first show, people understand that it's tough to kind of recharge yourself after a bit, especially when it's not back to back, especially when you have a grace period.
And just to recap here, so you had done a show in St. Louis. You'd placed second. You'd never placed second before, and you had to turn around and how many weeks difference to go back and try to win at a national level, even though you got second at a regional level?
Right. So 9 weeks.
9 weeks difference.
Right.
Okay. So you had 9 weeks to continue to put the throttle down, and you'd already been prepping for, I'm sure, 12 to 20 weeks in a row.
Yeah. So at that point, it was already about 20 weeks in. So it was 20 weeks. I stepped on stage, first time losing. And then I was like, man.
And the doctor tells you that your testosterone's next to nothing.
Yeah, I was about to say, I mean, it would probably be good to give some context as to like what you had just gone through to really drive home the point of.
Yeah.
The bomb here, you say the bomb here is that it's your first time competing since going through that health scare. And what was that health scare?
Right. So in 2016, I got the unfortunate news that I was diagnosed, that I was going to be diagnosed with testicular cancer. So in 2016, in July, I got the news, unfortunately. So the kind of how that all came to play was, and I always like to, I've always been very open about this. If you follow me on social media, it's not something I've, veered from. I actually like to use my platform to encourage men, to check out themselves, making sure they're taking care of themselves, they're not being stubborn, and just kind of showing my journey. So it's very documented on my social media. But I noticed a difference on my left side, my left testicle, where it was just, smaller, and there was an irregular bump. So I went in to the physician, and they ran, he did a typical physical, and she's like, let's just do an ultrasound just to be safe, but I don't think it's anything. So I had an ultrasound scheduled for Friday, and they're like, okay, cool. We will, send these results to your doctor. She'll call you probably next Tuesday and everything, and whatnot. Well, she called me back Friday that same day, about 2 hours later, and I was actually at the gym down at One Life working out. I missed the call, but I stepped into a studio and called back, and she goes, all right, well, we found something on the ultrasound, and we have to assume what's worst case until we know something else. And I was like, what is worst case? Because at that point, I had no idea what that meant. And she was like, well, we have to assume it's cancer. I was like, oh, okay.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and that had the pre-workout flowing, the gym's packed, I'm, in the zone, and all of a sudden, like, my heart just drops. I'm like, okay, what do I need to do? And she's like, well, unfortunately, I can't get you in until probably Monday or Tuesday. So,
oh, God.
Yeah.
So are you
sit
serious?
Sit on this for the next 4 days.
The amount of Googling that you did.
Yeah.
Oh, my, exactly.
Jeez.
To be honest, I finished my workout, but it wasn't great. But,
that's admirable that you finished the workout.
Yeah, so needless to say, that was a rough weekend. And for me, I'm always the type of person of, I don't like the unknowing of things, but as soon as I know something, I feel like I can hit it with more of a plan of action. But yeah, Monday came, and she very nonchalantly, I'll never forget how she did it. She was like, she pulled me in, looked at the scan, she goes, okay, yes, it's cancer. I'm like, what? She goes, well, we have to do a biopsy. I was like, okay. She's like, but that means we have to remove, the side that has a tumor on it. I was like, holy shit, this is all coming out really quickly. And
you're like, that just happened really fast.
Yeah, it kind of hit me pretty hard, pretty quickly. And I was with my family at the time, and my mom, I'm a mama's boy. She loves me, and she won't say it out loud, but I'm definitely her favorite, I think. so she took it pretty hard, and so yeah, that kind of began that journey of having to get removed. I had to get a port put in because essentially they did the biopsy after they removed it, which took another 2 weeks. So you're just like sitting there, which is terrible. And they're like, yes, it's testicular cancer. It's type 1B, meaning it's spread a little bit. So we have two options. You can do surveillance, where you have a 50% chance of it, getting worse, or you could do chemotherapy. And so I was like, no, fuck that. Let's do chemotherapy. And so I started chemo in October of 2016. And
you were still lifting up to this point. You were still, working out.
You were the most jacked chemo patient I've ever seen.
Well, yeah. I remember them telling you like that it was a huge deal that you had so much
helpful.
muscle.
Yeah. So for me, there were certain restrictions. Obviously, I had the removal, and so I had to spend a couple days off from working out, and then I had to get a port put into my chest, which is where the injection site for the chemotherapy drugs would be. And but then after that, man, I started chemo. And it was pretty intensive. I'm not gonna lie. It was multiple rounds. I was at the hospital Monday through Friday for about 8 hours, and I quickly learned that there was a routine to it where, I would start feeling really run down by about 6 or 7 o'clock at night. So it was always kind of a laughing joke between me and the nurses, where they're like, you headed to the gym? I was like, yes, ma'am. And so like, I'd get out by 4 and then I'd just go straight to the gym, which at that time I was a personal trainer at. So I was still personal training. I was still training 5 to 6 days a week. And yeah, that's pretty much how it went the entire time. I mean, I definitely had my tough moments, definitely had my tough weeks and days, but I don't think I ever not lifted 5 days a week the entire time.
That's awesome.
That's incredible, dude.
I
didn't even know that.
My dad had a brother that passed away from testicular cancer when he was 17. So when you told me that, right, I know testicular cancer, they've gotten a lot better at it, a lot better at treating it. But dude, anytime you hear something like that, your mind just goes, oh shit, and to see you go through that and to watch you go through that. And how much weight did you lose during that?
Yeah. So that was honestly, that was one of the more terrifying things for me, just because I guess cancer, when everyone can kind of relate to cancer, right? We all know somebody, unfortunately, who's had cancer, who's going through cancer, whatever it is. And so for me, my cancer ran in my family a little bit, so it scared me. I've seen the effects firsthand. So I was really worried about losing weight and kind of all the progress and kind of going through that depression, and just I didn't want to look like a cancer patient. I know that kind of sounds maybe fucked up, but I just didn't want to look like a cancer patient. So I actually maintained myself really well, and luckily, obviously being in the profession I am in, kind of knew how to handle it and kind of make it work. So I didn't lose weight. I just had my body composition changed. So
Yeah.
I was about 197 going into it. And then, during the weeks where I was in the hospital all week and I was pumped up on steroids and fluids, so my weight shot up maybe 5 or 10 pounds. But my body composition drastically changed. Like if you looked at the pictures from,
It's wild,
Yeah.
man. Yeah, I forgot.
yeah, if you look at the pictures from when I was deep into it, towards that last end, I it didn't look the same as what it looked like beforehand. But yeah, man, I made it work. And I think I do owe it to just kind of staying active and kind of pushing myself to keep going, and then really my mindset of just, this is going to pass. I just have to work through it. And I kind of almost viewed it, weirdly enough, I viewed it kind of like a contest prep. Like I was like, okay, there's an end date to this. And my doctor, cancer is cancer, but testicular cancer when caught early is a treatable, disease. And so for me, I was like, okay, we caught it early enough. I got to do what I need to do. But by the end of this year, I'm going to beat it. That was my goal. And so every day, that's what my mindset was. Just wake up and win that day and, do the best I could. And when days I felt like shit, I rested. And days I lift, I would go lift, because I knew that was the one sense of normalcy I could maintain throughout the entire time. The one thing that really cancer wouldn't be able to take away from me.
Yeah, I remember watching you go through it and being really, really, it was awesome to see your mindset through it, because you see some people that go through that kind of stuff and you can see it start to mentally defeat them. And with you, I felt like you almost were giving it the middle finger throughout it. Obviously it's going to affect you. Obviously it's going to, cause you to go through a lot, but I felt like it almost strengthened you, and made you into a better, stronger person.
If we go back to you in high school, we talked about when people doubt you, it's just something that really motivates you clearly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And I think, when I look back at kind of where I've been and where I'm going and kind of what I've been able to do with my life, as weird as it sounds, it's probably one of the best things that's happened to me in terms of just creating who I am today with grit and just fortifying me to being like, you really, when you go through something that's like threatening your life, a lot of everything else in life kind of seems small.
Perspective.
Yeah, so it's just like, I don't know. I just look at life and I'm like, okay, this is hard. What I'm going through right now is tough, but I've been through worse and I've overcame that. And yeah, I'm a big believer in, if you have been following me at all, you've probably heard me say the phrase a lot is, you can't be defined by anything other than what you want to define yourself by, right? You can't be defined by the circumstances of your life, just how you choose to respond. And so I'm a big believer in just kind of choosing to respond in the best way possible and kind of understanding that life is going to move on with or without you leading it. And so you can either be dragged by it or you could push forward and kind of create the life you want. So
control what you can.
Absolutely.
So let's fast forward now to you've gotten past cancer. Now you're actually starting to think, okay, now I need to get back to competing.
What was the day that you became completely cancer-free?
Cancer-free, yeah.
Right. So it was December 14th.
2016?
2016.
Wow, man. So, I mean, it was a journey, but it was something that you got it by the end of the year like you wanted to.
Yeah. So I remember it hit pretty damn hard towards the end. I remember Thanksgiving. It was definitely one of my worst days where I was just in bed. I couldn't get up. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't enjoy the day at all. I was just laying in bed, just feeling super nauseous. That was the biggest thing with cancer is the chemo. The chemo had a lot of side effects in terms of like your gut health and just your ability to just feel normal. But yeah, so I remember it got pretty rough at the end, but by the time before Christmas, my goal was to be cancer-free by Christmas. That's kind of what I told myself. I was like, I'm going to beat this by Christmas, and this is going to be my gift that I give to my mom, essentially. So yeah, by Christmas, I actually gifted that like to her, and so.
Tell me, like, you actually put that, like, I'm cancer-free in a box and wait to Christmas to find that out.
She knew. Well, she knew. She was. I couldn't like hide it from.
I was like, what an awesome story that would have been. Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that would be more of an amazing story. I wish I could say that, but she, if you know my mom, she's calling me every day. Right. So she'd be like, so what's new? So I'm like, but no, it was cool by the end of the year to beat it. So that was 2016. 2017 was just a year of regrowth, really, because it's not like the cool thing about any kind of injury or disease or anything like that, to understand for all of you guys, obviously, I hope none of you guys go through what I went through, but I'm sure some of you have had injuries or setbacks or whatever it might be, fell off the wagon, whatever it is muscle memory is a real thing, and muscle regrowth is a real thing. And so when I lost all that body compositional look, and when I lost that muscle, it wasn't like, oh, it's going to take me another 5 years to regain it. No. I mean, it took me about 5-6 months to get back to where I was. And going through that, I had some hormonal issues, obviously, with losing my left side. My testosterone was down. And so that was kind of the battle from 2017 to 2019 almost, was dealing with low T, because I prided myself in being a natural athlete. I always was natural. I actually have, if you want to consider still having, I have a natural bodybuilding pro card that I won prior to cancer. I actually won that pro card in 2016. About 3 months before being diagnosed with cancer. So that was kind of a big whirlwind from going from like this elite level bodybuilder naturally and conquering the world, I felt, to having cancer. But 2017 was kind of a regrowth. And then 2018 is kind of when I got back on stage and I was like, okay, I want to prove to myself something. So it meant a lot. So when I got second at that first show, I wouldn't lie, it really messed with my confidence and just like, man, maybe I don't still have it. Maybe it really did have this impact on me. Maybe I'm just not as good as I once was. And so, 2018, I did that first show, and then I had about 9 weeks until nationals. And it was just an everyday struggle of like, I'm going to put the work in, because regardless, that's just what I'm going to do. But every day I had to convince myself, you're going to do this. Like, then I kept on asking myself, are you going to step on stage, or are you going to pull away? And luckily, Jeff was there to help me quite a bit. Pretty much told me, stop being a bitch.
Yeah, I mean, like, dude, you're not going to come as far to only come as far.
Exactly. He said, I mean, I remember we were at the gym, we're at One Life, and he was like, look, like, think about it. You're the type of person that if you don't do it, you're going to hate yourself more than if you do it and you don't place as well as you think. And that was true. Is if you don't try, you're never going to know, and all you're going to know is you're going to have regret. And so, so I stepped on stage on middle of June of 2018, and I got second, and I got second by a 1 point.
You were 1 point away from being an IFBB pro.
That. I was like, oh,
yeah, man, it was tough. It was like good and bad. It was hard to explain because like I felt so fulfilled because I didn't give up, right? I felt fulfilled because I proved myself to push through, to show up. And I was really burnt out at that point. I was going through a lot of like depression and kind of those symptoms of like low T. And then, I showed up and I was there. But yeah, to know that, so with how bodybuilding, how physique competitions work, you're on stage with a handful of guys, typically a lot more than a handful, but there's a panel of judges and they all rank you like in what position you should be in. So if you feel like if they're all like, this guy's first, they're going to give you a number one. And essentially the total of your score, whatever has the lowest score, that's how they rank it.
Like golf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the head judge reached out to me on on Facebook afterwards, and he goes, just to let you know, it was 1 point difference. So I was like, well, that doesn't help. Thanks. But yeah.
It's like you're really close.
And it was like, you weren't dark enough. Your tan wasn't dark enough. I was like, oh.
No.
I was like,
no.
I was like,
Give me something I can.
Let me go back, find that person from the first show and have them do me again, you know?
Yeah.
all right. I was like, I'm glad that I paid for the show promoted tan to tan me, and that was the reason. But no, it was okay, because I do think in a lot of ways, and what I've learned in a lot of life, and I can relate that to something that's recently just happened, is you want things to happen. You could think things are supposed to happen when they're supposed to happen, and they don't happen, but then they happen when they're really supposed to. So I think there's a difference between when you want things to happen to when they really need to.
It never comes when you think it's going to.
100%. And you guys know I can relate that to with First Phorm, is it didn't happen when I wanted it to happen, but it did at the end.
Yeah, tell us about that, man.
So I had a specific question about that with brands, because Justin actually has been sponsored by some of the coolest brands in the fitness industry, and there's so many people that are listening that are wanting to find a way to partner with a brand or be an ambassador or be a sponsor.
One of the questions we field often is basically how to get sponsored.
Yeah. Does Supplement Superstore sponsor local athletes, or how do I find a way to attach myself to another brand and grow with them as an athlete, etc. And so first and foremost, I want the question to be just simply, what brands have you been partnering with over the course of your career, and just what advice would you give somebody to what they should do if they'd like to be a part of another brand?
Yeah, great questions. The companies that I've been with, so I've been with Alpha Clothing, which is a local company in Kansas City, clothing company, apparel company, great products. I've been with a company called ECT, which is based out in Australia, actually, which is really cool. I've been with a supplement company. I was with them for about 4 years, called Legion Athletics. Phenomenal company, very science-backed, just really good, down-to-earth group of people. And, most notably and most currently, I just signed on with First Phorm. If you're not familiar with them, I don't know why you're listening to this podcast. You should be familiar with them. But they are based in St. Louis, and just an incredible company, and just something I'm extremely honored to be a part of right now. But to address your question, with sponsorships, I think the most important thing to understand, and this is something I'll admit I learned along the way, because I don't want to say I'm an OG, but I've been on social media probably since like 2011, 10, I don't know, something like that. Before, it was getting popular, but not to where it's at today.
We're talking specifically Instagram here. Like, you were on Facebook like the rest of us.
Oh, yeah.
06, right?
Yeah, and MySpace with...
Yeah, I was about to say, what was your song on MySpace?
Learning how to code casually.
Yeah.
Friends with Tom. But no, as far as social media, in terms of sponsorships, if I can give you one piece of honest advice, and as cliche as it might sound, is don't stretch yourself. Be who you are. Because everyone today is their own brand. Everyone is their own brand. Identify who you are. Identify the core values that you truly live your life by, and find a company that aligns with that. Do not mold yourself and curve and bend yourself to become something that you're not, just to fit with the company that you love so much. I've learned that a lot, because at the end of the day, you can't sell a product if you're not passionate about it, and you're not going to stick with a product or a company or a service if it's just not resemblant of who you are as a person. And that's why that's why aligning with First Phorm is so natural to me, and as amazing of an opportunity as it is, it feels very natural and very form-fitting to me, because I'm like, this just is who I am, and their core values are what I live my life by, and so I feel like it just naturally fits. And so, yeah.
So you've never accepted one of those people in your DMs that's saying like, "Hey, you look like you'd be a great ambassador for our brand. DM us for more details."
That doesn't work?
You mean you've never DM'd anybody back?
If you're that type of person, if that's your job, just quit.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't work. It doesn't work. No.
And we're all robots anyway, right?
Exactly. And that's one thing for you guys. You don't have to have and that's another thing, is people think you have to have this crazy big following to, elicit or to become part of a great brand. It's not. I know people who have much smaller followings than me that, promote extremely well. And I think honest companies, view that. Of course, followers and of course your marketability, it is a business deal at the end of the day. But, being able to be yourself and put out good content and being able to be relatable is, I think, the biggest thing, you know, especially with this generation, is having a purpose, being relatable, and
Yeah, it's really, you know, the size of your following is not as important as the engagement that your following has with you. You know, does your following actually care about your opinion? You know, because there's tons of people out there that have huge followings, millions and millions of people, or millions and millions of people following them, but they have no influence over that, you know.
How influential are you to your following is, you know, how organic are you with that following, right?
And I think you've always done, like you were saying, you're good at Instagram. You're good at conveying your core values and who you are as a person. You're also really good at providing quality information. And because of that, you've basically built a tribe on your social media that is basically loyal to you. And that's why you are a valuable person from a business standpoint. And I think a lot of people that are wanting to get sponsored need to understand that there's, you know, a lot of times there's years and years and years put in before your value is created enough to where it makes a difference for a brand enough to want to invest money into you, which is essentially what they're doing. So yeah, I'm pumped to see you at First Phorm. I think that obviously that's a great fit.
Dude, I was going to say, you know, for just to piggyback on the answer that Justin gave, because we do get approached so often. If you guys are listening to this and you're really wanting to partner with a brand, first thing you need to think of is what can you provide that brand, not what can that brand provide for you. Because 99% of the time when someone approaches me about some form of sponsorship, it's legitimately the first thing they ask is, what can you do for me? And I just think in my head, like, well, I think we were doing just fine without you, to be honest. So I don't understand why that's your thought process. You know, I mean, you have to come at any brand, you know, and if I'm trying to partner with an athlete, I would go to them and I would say, hey, here's all the things that I think that we can do for you. It's the first thing you should be thinking.
I would 100% agree. I would even take it one step further and say that's how you should just approach life and every relationship you have, is stop thinking about what these people can do for you and what you can do for them, because in turn, you're going to get a lot more from them by doing so, and you're going to create more meaningful relationships.
Reciprocity goes a long way. We talk about all the time, you know, give 51 and only take 49. And to hear people say stuff like this, you're like, how do you expect that to, you know, how do you expect to be successful with that kind of a mindset? It's, you know, you're not here to coach them, but in your head, you're just like, how do you know, get by?
You just like, yeah, you just don't get it.
And it's not even like, you know, a few, it's almost every single person that comes to you. It's unheard of. So I'm glad we approached that topic. And I know we were getting on, you know, you going through, you know, battling adversity with, you know, not winning an athlete search. So I'd love for you to tell that story with First Phorm, because you initially applied to want to be a First Phorm athlete way back in 2016 while you were going through chemo, correct?
Yeah, actually even before. So I'm originally from St. Louis. A lot of people think I'm originally from Kansas City, but I moved from St. Louis, St. Charles area, to Kansas City when I was about 12. My mom got remarried, so we moved here. So I'm always I'm a Midwest kid. So like I said, started competing in 2012, and when doing so, that's when I started seeing First Phorm at the shows. I started making friends with the coworkers, those who worked the booth. I was a big fan of Andy Frisella and his podcast and just his mindset. I was a big fan of just First Phorm in general as a company. Thought it was always a really cool company. Thought the products were great. You know, and then 2016, I noticed, because was that their first year that they did the athlete search?
It was their second year. Second year doing it, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I remember seeing it going in 2016. I was like, I got to go for this. Like, this is...
And you just won that pro card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like,
natural pro card.
Yeah, so I was like, this is something I really want to do. And so this was actually a few months before being diagnosed or finding out I had cancer. And so I was going for the athlete search, and I was like, this could be life-changing for me in so many different ways. And then, like I said, I got diagnosed with cancer that summer, and I was like, man, I just got to keep going, and I'm just going to share my story and, you know, view this as a way to show people that really whatever life throws at them, you can overcome it with just working hard. And I felt that aligned well with First Phorm, so I kept on going with it. So I documented my cancer story. I actually, did the First Phorm athlete search submission video, which was really cool. Hired my good buddy, who's a professional photographer and videographer, made a really cool YouTube video. That was a cool video. That kind of highlighted that. And, I felt good. It was a nationwide search, but I was like, man, I think this could be it. And it just felt right. It was one of those moments where like, man, this just feels so right. I need this win. And it didn't happen. It really sucked. I was really excited, and it was just something to look forward to. And I think something that actually drove me to stay positive during going through chemo, but it didn't happen. So it was one of those moments, like I said earlier, where you feel like everything should happen, but it doesn't. But it doesn't mean that it's going to when you need it to. And so, fast forward a couple of years, I signed on with a different company, Legion Athletics, and had a great experience with them. And then earlier this year, not too long ago, was presented the opportunity to sign on with Phorm, and it was just one of those. It's time. I can't deny this. This is my calling. It feels so right. And I know maybe that sounds cheesy, but like if you know who Phorm is, if you know the community, if you know the people, and if you know me personally, I think in a lot of ways, and what I hope, honestly, more than anything, people are just like, it makes sense. Like, honestly, that's the biggest compliment that anyone could say is like, congratulations, it's about time.
Yeah.
Where would you like to go from here with them? Because I know you're signed on as an athlete, but I think they have different levels of that, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a Legionnaire program, there's the sponsored athlete level, and there's the elite level athlete. And, when I was kind of conversating with JC and Aaron and the guys who kind of brought me on, I told them, I was like, what does it take to get to an elite level athlete? Because for me, my life, I might not ever be the best at something, but I'm always going to reach for it. I'm always going to work towards it. And that's just kind of what my life has taught me to do. A million times over, every time I try for something, I just learned that, like, man, like I'm really the only one limiting myself, and whether it's happening or not, it teaches me something. So, yeah, my mission, I told them, like, give me a year, I'm going to be an elite level athlete. I got to tour the HQ the other day, 200,000 square feet of just insaneness, and I went to the locker room, and it was a very humbling moment because in the locker room, as you guys know, they have names. Everyone has their own specific locker of all the elite athletes, and Andy and Sal and stuff like that. And I was like, I just saw it. I was like, my name's going to be on here.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make it happen. I mean, it's not over just about sales or whatever. It's just like, I'm going to make that happen. I'm going to do everything I can to just embody this, and I'm going to go all in on it.
Yeah, I totally believe you when you say it, man. And I think in the original athlete search that they did, I think you were probably next in line besides the person they picked.
And that person I don't think is even with the company anymore. And so I think if Phorm could have
if they could go back.
Yeah.
I remember talking to Aaron and Cody, who were friends with at Phorm, and I was just in their ear.
We were very unhappy.
I was like, "Yo, you guys got to pick Justin." I was like, "You guys got to pick him. He's the best. He's the best dude. He's got the best values. He's going through a situation right now.
He's overcome the most.
He's overcoming the most. It's just it made sense to us. But like you were saying, it's everything happens at the time it's supposed to happen, and I can't be more happy for you now because it's a perfect fit.
No, I agree, and I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys, your support and everything. It means a lot, and it's the truth. It honestly is the truth. And when I look back, when I think about who I am right now, the stuff I've gone through even since then, the level I've had to kind of grow up and mature myself, I'm like, I might have been deserving, maybe. I don't like to use the word deserving for anything in life, of it back in 2016, 2017, but it's going to be completely different now. Like my approach and how I'm going to, what the potential of it can be for me and just for what I want it to be and for the company, it's going to be completely different. I'm a completely different person now.
Yeah, you've definitely grown since then.
So we've got Justin, the athlete, that we've really gotten to know so far. And that part's incredible. You know what I mean? Like it's definitely something that, we could have made an entire show on just that. But you've also, started off as a personal trainer working at, a major, big box gym as an example, and, trained clients one-on-one, and you were working a schedule that was, difficult for most, waking up, training clients at 5 a.m. and so forth, and coming back and training them till 7, 8 p.m. And then you started, growing your coaching business on the side. And I know you told me it started off at 10, 15 people. And, now you've grown it to where, Justin Nutrition, which is the name of your business, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Justin Nutrition has over 90 clients between you and your other coach. And you guys, the business is well over 6 figures, and it's definitely your full-time career. And, you have a waiting list a mile long. How did you go from one to the other? And, how long did that take? Because that career, your business career could be its own separate holy hell way of overcoming adversity.
You're basically doing what everybody in the fitness industry strives to do.
Every single person that starts to lift weights says or they start to compete, like I want to be a pro, and then they start training and they're like, well, I'd love to just be fully online and be able to pick my schedule and make great money, and it's just like you're killing on it every aspect. So let's get into that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great topic. And so first and foremost, I think I want to just clear the air and just make sure everyone knows, because I think we're all in agreement here, is that there's personal training I don't consider a step down from coaching. I think I know some of the most successful people who personal train, and I think it comes down to what you're most passionate about. And I did personal training as a side on, as an addition to the coaching. So if we rewind just a little bit, so I went to school at KU, got a bachelor in biology, was going to go the PA route, physician's assistant, thought about doing med school. But I got into bodybuilding, started finding success there. And my parents, they're amazing people. And they're like, hey, we see you are hungry for something. My stepdad is an amazing guy. And he's always like teaching me like, scalability and do what you want to do and live the best life. And he was always, if you really are after this, you really want to commit yourself, move back home. You can have a year here, rent free, figure your stuff out. And at that point, if it's not going where you want it to be, then go back to school. So I took that seriously. And so I started my business, and like with any startup, it's slow, it's tough, and you're just spending a lot of time scratching your head, like, what do I do with my time? Like, what do I do? How do I promote this? This is the earlier stages of Instagram where, I didn't know necessarily how to approach it, and I just knew I needed something a little bit more stable. So I started personal training, and personal training was a great addition. And I would highly recommend anyone who wants to be a coach to personal train for a little bit, because I honestly think between that and just being a serving job, you learn so much about customer service and how to talk to people and how to manage people. As a coach, for those who are current coaches, you could probably agree, and those who are wanting to be coaches, I always joke, it's like 15% nutrition and like 85% like therapy. You're talking to people. Yeah. You have to learn how to, talk them off ledges, how to motivate them, how to explain concepts in a way that they understand. And everyone learns differently. Everyone's motivated differently. So you baby talk people, you give them tough love, you spit them with the science, you try to dumb it down a little bit to make it easier. So it's really finding that connect. And that's the kind of the bread and butter of why my business has grown. But, when I started, I was doing more personal training than coaching, and coaching was good. Like I said, I had about 10 to 15 people on any given time with my roster, and it was one of those things where I was figuring out what I was doing. Like, I felt confident with the knowledge I had, but I didn't have the experience, and the experience is huge in kind of developing this, mindset of who you are and not being like an imposter syndrome. I think it's just a matter of really understanding, when you develop your business, when you're trying to expand it, you have to do it a specific way. You have to do it a way that's going to cater to your core values. And for me, my core value was taking care of people. Based on the past professions that I did, the jobs that I did, it was all about, giving people the attention and making sure that I wasn't like just associating them with as a number. So when I scaled my business, the most imperative core value was to treat everyone like they were my only client. And that, I think that paid off in the long run. It definitely created slower growth. I just crossed my 7th year in business, and I know plenty of coaches who are in the hundreds, if not thousands of clients. But for me, it was always more on a personal level, small personal level. I'm not saying you can't do that. But yeah, in the early stages, we started with 10 to 15, and I've been fortunate to where it's been growing pretty much year to year, hand over. But it really probably wasn't until the last 2 or 3 years that business has really taken off.
Well, if you can turn one person into two, eventually, 20 becomes 40, 40 then becomes 80. You know what I mean? And that's what I think has been happening for you, is that you realize that, when you have that personal touch.
Yeah, that's the thing is the quality of the help that people get. Yeah, people can have 1,000 clients, but here's the deal. What's the quality of interaction? And, for anybody that's gone through a prep for a bodybuilding show, it is 100% like, you're bouncing ideas off your coach. You want your coach to be responsive, and you want that person to be a rock. And if you have 1,000 other clients, you're not going to get that. You're going to get an email back, and it's going to be very little personal touch. It's just going to be lower your carbs by 20 grams a day.
Exactly. And like I said earlier, this is much more than just here's your nutrition plan for the week and whatnot. It's very much more, diving into the psychology of it, understanding what makes people tick, what makes people motivated, what makes people want to get out of bed and, deprive themselves of the liberties that they have of eating the food as much as they want. I mean, it's a selfish sport, but it's very self-driven, and it's very, in terms of any kind of nutrition or fitness goal, and I think we could apply this outside of just nutrition and fitness, but it requires a level of self-mastery, and not everyone has self-mastery. So as a coach, you try to develop those habits and you instill that into those clients. So, when they're done with you, because my goal is not to just get you to success. I want you to, achieve success long term and be able to teach a friend or teach your son or teach your kid.
I mean, but technically, a diet coach, you could say that it's for people that, you're being paid to just tell them what to do. So everything that Justin just described, at least for our listeners, I hope you guys are understanding this. What's so special and unique about everything that he just said is that all of that came from his genuine care. He actually cares about every one of the people that he has under his name, and that bleeds into the culture of the people that are with him. And I know that most of his clients stick with him for a long time because of that, versus I know a guy that was making $25,000 a month on just selling, plans online. And I mean, he was literally just having somebody else crank out these plans and emailing them out, and he was selling them for $99 a piece. And it's just like, again, that well's going to dry up. If you don't genuinely care about your clients, that's just a short-term business strategy that's just not going to work out.
Yeah. Here's the question. So how you obviously want to continue to grow your business. Mm-hmm. How are you going to continue to grow your business, and how do you plan to continue to grow your business and still keep that quality intact?
Right.
Talk about the future.
Absolutely. So to kind of go to ping off both of what you guys just said, I think COVID and the pandemic really taught me a lot of why what I do is so valuable in terms of overall being in a position where true care as a coach and truly caring for your clients is extremely valuable. Because I know, and I would never list anyone's name, but I know plenty of coaches who have a less hands-on approach, and who got, hit pretty hard with COVID, because obviously when at the end of the day, when people are losing their jobs, they got to pay their mortgage and, their utilities over paying for a coach or doing a contest prep with, half the world shut down. So for me, it just validated that what I was doing was right, because I had quite the opposite impact on my business. My business actually grew through the past 2 years, or past year and a half. And so in terms of moving forward into the future, my biggest hurdle, right, with life is how can I scale so I can help more people, but how can I maintain the level of integrity, the core values, the relationship where I know my clients' dog's name and, their kid's name and what they had yesterday, where I know all the small details. And so the best way to do that, really, honestly, is to bring on a team that is equally as passionate and loyal, who genuinely care. And so, we currently have one coach on the team who is an incredible individual. He's based out of New York. We work together. He's now been on my team for a little over a year. And, the goal is to find like-minded people who truly care and truly understand the value of proper coaching and, taking it to the next level and being able to serve more people. I also want to, I'm going to plan, this year is just all about expansion. And I think we throw the word scalability around a lot as business owners, but I kind of want to go beyond that in the sense of I, of course, am looking to scale my business. Of course, that's the goal, right? But more than that, I want to look back and say, how can I serve the people that have been loyal to me even better? How can I provide even better service than what I do right now to those people? So it's a combination of, I want to hire an assistant. I need someone to do the back end stuff. I want to hire a coaching team so I can maybe be more niched towards men's physique clients and have maybe a female coach who can help with females and have a male coach and have a 30-day challenge coach. So I would like to expand to about 3 to 4 more coaches, hire an assistant, and allow me to focus on the things that I want to, and again, make sure that level and care is just at an ridiculously high level.
This advice is gold, guys. I really hope you're taking notes. If your goal is to make money with fitness, Justin's doing it, better than anybody else that I know in Kansas City right now as far as coaching goes. So I hope you guys are really paying attention.
It sounds like the inefficiencies of really taking care of somebody, making sure that you're, know every little detail about somebody's life is actually what you've used as your what's made you unique, what's
your added value.
Yeah, what's been your added value, which is cool to hear, because you hear a lot of stories about somebody having a an experience with a diet coach that was underwhelming. Obviously in the fitness industry, there's lots of diet coaches out there that are like, oh, I can do that for you. Or,
Yeah, I mean, what Justin just said is like, he's not looking for ways to automate. Did you hear that? Like when he talked about having an assistant, when he talked about hiring other coaches, nothing about it was, hey, how do I help more people by just, spitting out more emails, or how do I, expand my roster by automating more things? And instead it's just the same level of genuine one-on-one care, and knowing their dogs' names, knowing their kids' names, knowing the birthdays. Something you would do for a real friend. I mean, I think that's super admirable.
Yeah, I think it's, ultimately, like you said, it's the bread and butter of my business and kind of what has led me to be successful and reach to the point where I'm at. But, I mean, I would say twofold. It's that, but definitely it's just what I'm most passionate about. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm pretty introverted in a lot of ways, but I like connecting with people. I like knowing people and getting to know them and, like, have them feel like they know me. Like when I'm sending out their updates, they know it's coming from me because I send them a voice memo. I get to talk to them. And so for me, it's just like, I like that personability. So for me, I know business will continue to grow because we've developed something here that's, meaningful to people. And it's not just, oh, here's your macros or here's your diet plan. I mean, because you could do that for free. Anyway, you can find that on the internet. Everything's on the internet. Or you can hire somebody for $20, $50 a month and pay subscription. But I don't do that.
Yeah. You, so you mentioned here as in Kansas City, what's made you want to stay here in Kansas City when obviously being such an influential person, and I'm sure that you've thought about moving to other cities that are more, quote unquote fitness cities like LA and things like that. What's made you stay in Kansas City?
Yeah. That's a good question. So I'm definitely in like a new chapter of life where travel has definitely become quite entertaining. I'm entertaining the idea of it more.
And doing it more. We went to the Dominican in January, Justin. Don't lie to the people.
I'm not lying to people, man. I figured you'd bring it up. No, yeah, definitely this year is about travel as much as I'm allowed to. For me, I would definitely say family. As I've mentioned a few times, I'm definitely a mama's boy, and my mom is 15 minutes away from my house. I recently bought a house, literally going into the pandemic on March of 2020. That was scary.
I did the same thing. It was definitely scary.
being a self-employed business owner, when you go into something you've never dealt with, and you're just like, okay, well, am I an essential worker? I don't know.
Yeah.
But
hopefully this.
We'll see. And so it turned out pretty well. But yeah, so I have a house out here in Olathe. My family is about 15 minutes away. But at the end of the day, I find myself getting more of an itch to want to travel. Not necessarily move, maybe.
Yeah, not up and move, though.
Up and move. I've considered short-term travel, like Airbnb for like 3 months, traveling different places as, United States opens up more with COVID. But, for me, yeah, it's just traveling a little bit, having fun, understanding that I can work from wherever as long as I have Wi-Fi, which is a really amazing part of my job.
You going to get a camper, dude? You know what I'm saying?
Dude, that'd be awesome.
Justin in the camper.
Justin the camper.
Yeah. One of those vans.
What's going on, guys?
Yeah.
Happy Monday. Just in the Sahara right now.
Just in
I have this beautiful backdrop of this Hawaiian island as I send out my emails.
Oh, sorry, it's the seagulls in the background. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Where do you want to travel to in America? Where would your number one spot be? Where are you taking the camper?
The camper. I would love to travel out to Scottsdale. I've yet to be there, but everyone tells me how beautiful it is.
Yeah, we've been there twice in the last 6 months.
Fucking awesome,
it's amazing.
Dude, I mean,
awesome.
I just got...
Talk about a fitness scene out there, man.
Yeah.
Dude,
real.
I bet, man. I don't know if I'd want to go in like July, which is coming up just because of how hot it's going to be, but man, it's a beautiful place from what I've seen. I just got done touring, I always say, Texas, because I just went to College Station to get a tattoo. Then I went to Austin. Then I went to Houston. Then I went to Dallas. So I got to really see Texas, which was really good. I wouldn't mind going east.
What was your favorite of those Texas cities?
Austin, for sure.
What was the least favorite?
Houston.
You know what's funny is that like I looked at if you look at the real estate like purchasing from Austin to Houston, it's like 5 times more expensive to move to Austin. And you're like, now I get it.
Well, everyone's moving there, isn't
Yeah.
it? Elon's moving there. Google, Facebook, not Google, Facebook,
Yeah, I mean,
Tesla.
Austin City Limits, obviously one of the better festivals you can go to. On top of it, I mean, it's just a beautiful city. One of my best friends lives out there. Let's keep these lighthearted questions going because it was really intense there for a while, and I like these. Justin is a notorious, humongous fan of The Office.
Absolutely.
And it's sadly off of Netflix. So how are you getting your fix right now?
To be honest, I'm not, and it's memes, and sometimes YouTube, like just like deleted scenes and stuff. It's terrible, to be honest.
What's your all-time favorite Office episode? Number one,
Stress Management episode 2. That's the one where the CPR, after Stanley has
Absolutely.
the heart attack, and then the CPR person comes in, and then there's Dwight.
Staying Alive.
Yeah, Staying Alive cuts the face off and is like, you're just like, oh my God. Absolutely, by far the best. I'm a huge, like, you know how they have those like Office tournaments or whatever?
Yeah.
If anyone,
Trivia tournaments.
if you're listening to this and you ever need a partner, feel free to DM me and I will be there.
Dude, you and Jeff
gets
should
it.
do that.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh man,
He's a trivia king.
Yeah, I mean,
not with The Office though. I do not even hold a candle to Justin's Office knowledge. I definitely don't know. You want to go down on Seinfeld?
What's
I'm
the
in,
one
but-
where the bat's flying around and they trap the bat?
trapping it. Yeah, it's not Angela's, but yeah. I can't-
Yeah, it was Angela's head, wasn't it?
Was it? No, it was Meredith.
Or Meredith.
It was Meredith.
Yeah,
'cause
yeah.
it was like multiple throughout the seasons, multiple times where she would get like something on her head. And like,
Right. A turkey get on her head once? Or
It was-
something like that?
Yeah. It was so good. She had cut her. It was like on fire one time, and no, yeah, I'm stubborn because like I could easily just get Peacock. I mean, how many streaming services does a person need?
Yeah, but once we've gotten through that like big 3 or 4 with Hulu and Netflix and like HBO, then all these are coming out now. Like what's it? Paramount, Peacock. You can get obviously after Disney Plus, it's just all kind of a blur now to me.
It's just like the new version of cable, essentially. I'm just like,
Fubo
yeah.
made some money, lost some money on that stock.
Kyle actually owns Fubo at home as a subscription service. I'm like, no one's heard of it yet, but you can do live betting on it, and he doesn't even do that.
No, you can't do it on it yet, but the stock did go up when they announced that.
Fubo or Fubu?
It's
Speaking of stocks right now,
FUBO.
crypto's all the rage right now. Justin, are you invested in some cryptocurrency? You got some stock tips for these guys?
To the moon, man. To the moon. I am invested. I am I don't know what you deem a rookie at all. It's one of those like, what was it last year? Everyone kind of hit the market. Robinhood became super popular and everyone's like Bitcoin and Dogecoin and Ethereum and everything. I'm like, I'm just stressed out. Like last year was such an expensive year for me with the house and just everything else. I was like, I'm going to wait. But no, I mean, I've dabbled for sure. I got some money in there for sure.
In Dogecoin?
I do have money in Dogecoin.
Do you have money in any other random shit coins, as someone call them?
Shitcoin.
Instead of Bitcoin, they're shit coins?
No, I don't. Dogecoin is my biggest investment, which I wasn't upset about. Obviously, Elon supporting that movement to the moon. So
Yeah.
I haven't looked at it this week today. That wasn't it down? Wasn't our stocks
It's
down?
been going down.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's it is funny to see basically what's happened with cryptocurrencies and being able to. You have Elon Musk who basically just pumps stock.
I'll just tell you guys this. I had 10 grand worth of Ethereum last year in May, and I bought it $178. And it was really just out of the fact that I like took some money out of like an online website for gambling, and then I did like a sports bet on, and I put this money in, and it had to be in cryptocurrency. Like I didn't go out of my way to deposit it into that or whatever. So it was all on Ethereum, and I sold it at $198 because I was like, oh, I'm killing it. Like
So for 3,000 now.
I'm up 20%. Yeah. Oh, it was at $4,000 like
It was at
a couple
$4,000.
weeks ago. So basically I missed out on over 200 grand. If anybody wants to get sad, like I am not the guy that made a bunch of money in
Everybody has
cryptocurrency.
that
I'm the
story
guy
with
that,
cryptocurrency.
Oh,
Everybody.
everyone's
oh man, I don't know about 200 grand, y'all.
No,
I don't know anybody
I'm
else.
not, I'm not that deep into it.
but I
no.
definitely sold all of that and made no money comparatively. So
No, it's super disappointing.
on a positive note, we had a good question for you. When it comes to the Kansas City fitness community comparatively to you, because you've worked out in some of the best gyms in the country. I know you've gone all around and worked out at different awesome gyms. What makes Kansas City's fitness community so unique to you compared to other ones?
It's a good question. I think the simple answer, would be, I think the whole Midwest hospitality and just like mindset encompasses the Midwest fitness scene where there's a lot of people. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's your odds and ends, your outliers who necessarily don't root for you. But I feel like there's a overall encompassing theme of people are just kind of rooting for each other. And I like that. I like, especially on the business owner side, maybe I'm less familiar with the competitive side, but just from like business owners and for like people in the fitness scene, I just feel like people are like, there's plenty of room at the top and we're just going to kind of do our own thing and we support you, or, I like what you're doing. And I think that's the coolest thing is being around like-minded individuals who are successful and they're just like, you know, I see what you're doing, man, and respect. Like, I'm not trying to take away from it. I'm just doing my own thing, and, you know, if we can collab, we can collab. If not, then, you know, keep doing what you do.
Cool. We got 2 more awesome ones for you. First one, obviously we're in Kansas City. Everybody knows we're known for barbecue. Tell me you get 1 barbecue meal in Kansas City. Where do you go?
Oh, man. Putting the pressure on me. I'm going to lose followers, friends, family.
This is the most important question we've asked you.
This is the most, yeah. I'm going to say Q39, burnt ends sandwich from Q39.
We're friends for a reason.
I mean, Jeff go on a beautiful date together.
There. Oh, I'm surprised we actually haven't.
Probably been to, I don't know if we've gone to Q39 together now.
We've gone to a lot of places. Fun fact, me and Jeff love food.
Yeah. True.
So if you think that I'm like...
One of us shows it, the other one doesn't. It's okay.
It's me. It's me. Yeah, if you don't think that I like food... you're wrong. And I think that's a big misconception with anyone is like people in the fitness scene, they're like, or people who are not, and they see people in the fitness scene, they're like, oh, you just don't like food. I can never do what you do. I'm like, I think I like food way more than you.
Yeah. I crush way more terrible food than you do, actually.
Yeah. It's called balance.
Yeah.
That's the thing is like, you know, teaching, I mean, I'm sure that's, you know, one of the things you're most gifted at is just basically teaching people how to live life and also, you know, be in the best shape that you can. You know?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
but Q39 is money. It is really good.
Would you agree or would you disagree?
No, I actually love Q39, but I do love slaps. Have you had slaps?
I have not.
Slaps as number 1 though?
So good.
I'm just saying slaps is incredible. I call it top 3, potentially top, you know, maybe top 5 because I really do love Jack Stack and Casey Joe's, but Q39 is just next level with the presentation and the...
When I took my dad to Q39, I remember he bit into the brisket that he got, and he was literally like, how do they do this? I want to talk to the... He was like...
I need to talk to...
He was stunned.
I need to talk to whoever smoked this because this is not possible.
He's like, I don't get it.
It's competition barbecue. And then with Kyle on the last podcast, he was getting all up in arms. He's like, dude, it's got to have slices of white bread. It's got to be like...
I want it to be...
I want it on paper. I want it to be on a paper bucket.
Absolutely.
I need the person giving it to me to yell at me, you know.
Right.
Hurry up and order. Okay.
Yeah.
Like no AC.
Arthur Bryant
no
and Gates style where they're literally just like screaming at you. You're like, I don't know. They're like, what do you want?
It's like an assembly line for Gates. No, I mean, I definitely love Q39, and it's just, they have a great system. I mean, it's never not absurdly packed.
You get, all right, so the other thing about Justin you guys need to know about him is he is an epic cheat meal guy, and he makes them count when he does get one. And I've been able to be fortunate to be around for a couple of those. Now, one of us earned it, but when he does it, it's fun. And I'll tell you right now, so I got to know this. You have one post, you know, show, maybe cheat. What's the first thing you reach for after like 20 weeks of dieting? You just won the Olympia. You just won your IFBB Pro card. It was December last year, is that right?
November, yeah.
November of last year, he wins his IFBB Pro card. What is the first cheat you get?
Oh man, that's tough. Okay, well, I'll just let you know actually what happened. Let's take this from what if to what happened. So I don't know if I'm saying lucky to have this, but I had a lot of competitor cookies in terms of like if you're in the fitness scene, a big thing that's kind of glowed up over the past few years is like just these ridiculously amazing cookies, like gourmet cookies that you get from like these websites and people. They're not just cookies, guys. It's hard to explain. Like I'm sure some people know what crumble cookie is.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that, but just with like way more stuff in it. I had like 40 of them. Like they were pound cookies. I didn't eat 40. I had like 40 in my freezer. So, you know, I was in Orlando for nationals, and so I brought a handful of those. So that was palm and fist with one hand while holding the trophy in the other hand. And then it quickly turned into a place that was like my 2 best loves in the world, which is sushi and Mexican. So it's called miso, like Mexican sushi. It was amazing.
So you had like quesadilla sushi?
Mexican sushi?
No, it's literally had 2. It just had both on the menu.
Oh, okay. Dude,
so
I was like, what are they wrap?
Silly, though.
So
I'm getting chips and salsa, followed by some egg drop soup.
I had a large margarita, several. Big fan of margaritas, team margarita over here. Had a margarita with some nachos, and then I had like 4 different types of rolls.
Wow.
Yo.
So
that's cheat meal heaven.
That is cheat meal heaven. That's having both of those in the same place. At first, I thought you were saying that there was like Mexican sushi where it's like
I'm sure there is, and that would be amazing.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So thank you guys for listening. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. Thank you, Justin, for coming on, man. You're one of the best dudes that we know in the Kansas City fitness community. You've always been such a good friend to us. If you want to tell everybody where they can follow you, obviously you have a ton of followers already.
Yeah, first off, it's been a pleasure, guys. It's been really fun to do, and I always love just shooting the shit with you guys, really, honestly, having fun. You can follow me on Instagram at jayhawk, JAYHAWK_fitness. You can check out my website, justinnutrition.com. You can email me if you ever need any coaching advice, justin@justinnutrition.com. Yeah.
Cool, man. Thank you again for coming on, man.
Appreciate you, buddy.
And thank you guys for listening. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. If you guys like what we do, subscribe, share our content, like our stuff on Instagram. We appreciate you guys. And tune in next week. We will have a different guest, and we'll be talking more fitness. Thank you, guys.